Home Alone isn't just a film, it's a treasured piece of our past, bringing back memories of laughter, holiday cheer, and unforgettable moments. But have you ever stopped to think about what became of the stars who made this classic so special? Sadly, 9 actors from the Home Alone series are no longer with us. How did their lives unfold once the cameras stopped rolling? Were their passings simply fate, or is there a deeper story hidden beneath the surface? From their most memorable roles to the private struggles they endured, these are the stories you never knew about the actors who once filled your holidays with joy. Stay with us, because what you're about to discover might forever change the way you see this beloved film. Robert's Blossom. Robert's Blossom's unforgettable performance as Old Man Marley in Home Alone, 1990, left a lasting impression on audiences, transforming what could have been a simple side character into one of the film's most heartfelt and memorable figures. As the mysterious neighbor with a troubled past, Blossom brought warmth and humanity to the role, turning fear into compassion and proving that appearances can be deceiving. But Blossom's journey to Hollywood wasn't a typical one. Born on March 25, 1924, in New Haven, Connecticut, he initially set his sights on a medical career, studying pre-medicine at Harvard University. However, the pull of the stage was too strong, and after serving in World War II, he left behind academia to pursue acting. He got his start in Cleveland before making his way to New York, where his powerful performances in off-Broadway productions like Village Wooing and Do Not Pass Go earned him 3 prestigious Obie Awards, cementing his reputation as a formidable stage actor. By the 1970s, Blossom's talent began to reach the big screen. With roles in Slaughterhouse-Five, 1972, Close Encounters of the Third Kind, 1977, and Escape from Alcatraz, 1979, he became known for playing eccentric, often unsettling characters. Despite decades of work in Hollywood, it was his role in Home Alone that truly captured the public's heart. Unlike many actors, Blossom never chased fame. He embraced a quiet, poetic lifestyle, earning the admiration of those who valued artistry over celebrity. But his road to success was anything but easy. With his distinctive appearance and intense demeanor, he often found himself typecast in eerie or villainous roles. Hollywood had a habit of boxing him in, offering parts that leaned into his grizzled look rather than his range as an actor. This struggle meant that for years, Blossom remained on the fringes, waiting for roles that would showcase his full abilities rather than just his outward persona. On July 8, 2011, Robert's Blossom passed away at the age of 87, marking the quiet end of a life that had impacted so many. The cause was cerebrovascular disease, a relentless condition that slowly strips away brain function, leading to strokes. His final days were spent in a nursing home in Santa Monica, fading from the public eye much like he had lived on his own terms. Though his passing wasn't sudden, it was a heartbreaking loss for fans who had grown to love him, especially for his poignant role as Old Man Marley, a character that reminded audiences of the power of second chances. Ralph Foodie. Ralph Foodie, the man behind the unforgettable Johnny in Home Alone, 1990, was born on November 13, 1928, in Chicago, Illinois. While much of his early life remains a mystery, one thing was certain: he was born to perform. His acting career took off in the 1960s, and he built a steady resume over the years, with standout roles in The Blues Brothers, 1980, and Raw Deal, 1986. But it was Home Alone that cemented his place in pop culture history. Foodie's portrayal of Johnny in the spoof Angels with Filthy Souls became legendary, with the line, "Keep the change, you filthy animal," echoing through generations. His gritty, old-school gangster persona added a special charm to the film, and he returned for Home Alone 2, Lost in New York, 1992. However, a knee surgery forced him to step back from some physical demands, leading to actor Michael Guido taking over the role of Snakes in the sequel's parody scene. Despite his tough guy image on screen, Foodie was anything but intimidating in real life. His sharp sense of humor earned him the nickname the Witster among colleagues, proving that behind every great villain is a heart full of laughter. But after reaching his peak in the early 90s, Foodie chose to step away from the spotlight, retiring to a quiet life in Lexington, Kentucky. Yet his journey was far from smooth. Before stepping onto the set, Foodie faced a battle that nearly ended his career. A knee surgery left him struggling with intense pain, and at one point it seemed he might not make it into the film at all. Originally set to play a victim, he found himself unable to meet the role's physical demands, leading to a last-minute switch with co-star Michael Guido. It was a reminder of how unpredictable Hollywood could be. While no scandals followed Foodie's name, the reality of filming was no easy feat. His famous gangster scenes were shot in a single afternoon inside a repurposed gym without the help of elaborate effects. But it was Foodie's raw talent and dedication that made Johnny unforgettable, crafting one of the most iconic moments in Home Alone. Ralph Foodie's final chapter was a quiet and painful one. On November 21, 1999, at 71, he lost his battle with cancer in Lexington, Kentucky. The illness had drained the energy from the man once known for his wit and grit, and while his passing wasn't sudden, it left an undeniable mark on those who knew him. The world barely paused to acknowledge his farewell, but for those who cherished his work, his legacy lived on. His tough guy act may have been all for show, but his place in comedy history was very, very real. John Candy. John Candy, the larger-than-life comedian who won hearts as the unforgettable Polka King in Home Alone, 1990, seemed destined for greatness. But behind the laughter was a man who faced struggles from an early age. Born on October 31, 1950, in Newmarket, Ontario, Candy's childhood was marked by loss. When he was just 4, his father passed away, leaving him to be raised by his mother, aunt, and grandparents. But that was only the beginning of his challenges. Though Candy showed promise as a young athlete, excelling in football, his true passion lay elsewhere. It wasn't until his years at Neil McNeil Catholic High School and Centennial College in Toronto that the acting bug truly took hold. By 1972, he was part of the Second City comedy troupe in Toronto, where his talent blossomed. Then came his breakthrough, joining SCTV, Second City Television, in 1976, a move that earned him 2 Emmys and opened the door to Hollywood. The 1980s saw Candy rise to stardom, bringing warmth and humor to hits like Splash, 1984, Planes, Trains, and Automobiles, 1987, and Uncle Buck, 1989. Audiences adored him, and his peers spoke of his kindness. Steve Martin once said, "John had the ability to make everyone feel like family," while director John Hughes marveled at his gift for blending comedy with heartfelt emotion. But behind the infectious smile, Candy carried burdens the world never saw. Imagine standing in the spotlight, making millions laugh, yet privately drowning in self-doubt. For Candy, success came with a price. His weight, often the butt of cruel jokes, became a source of deep pain. Hollywood typecast him, boxing him into roles that overlooked his full range. Despite his immense talent, the industry treated him as expendable, favoring younger, more conventionally marketable stars. Candy gave the world his best, but behind the scenes, he battled feelings of rejection and loneliness. His struggles took a devastating toll. The stress of Hollywood's pressures, coupled with a family history of heart disease, became a ticking time bomb. Then, tragedy struck. On March 4, 1994, at just 43 years old, Candy died suddenly from a massive heart attack while filming Wagons East in Mexico. The night before, he had cooked dinner for his castmates, never knowing it would be his last meal. In a chilling twist, he had voiced fears about traveling to Mexico, premonitions that, heartbreakingly, came true. His passing sent shockwaves through Hollywood. Friends, fans, and family were left shattered. His son's final memory: "I love you and good night." A heartbreaking farewell for a man whose laughter had filled so many lives. Bill Irwin. Bill Irwin may have only had a small role as Ed in Home Alone, 1990, but his presence was a quiet testament to his long and steady career in Hollywood. As the calm, no-nonsense man at the airport, Irwin brought a subtle humor to the film, standing out amidst the chaos. Though his screen time was brief, his performance added just the right touch of charm, showcasing the depth of experience that made him one of Hollywood's most reliable character actors. Born in 1914 in Honey Grove, Texas, Irwin's path to acting wasn't rushed. He pursued his craft with dedication, earning a master's degree in theater arts from the Pasadena Playhouse before stepping onto the stage. His early years were spent in theater companies, perfecting his technique before making the jump to Hollywood. His first film role came in You're in the Army Now, 1942, though he remained uncredited, a modest start for a man who would go on to build a remarkable career. It wasn't until the 1980s that Irwin truly stepped into the spotlight. His role as Arthur Beale in Somewhere in Time, 1980, finally brought him wider recognition, and his Emmy-nominated performance as Sid Fields on Seinfeld made audiences take notice. Despite finding fame later in life, Irwin never stopped working, often cast as the grumpy yet endearing older man, a role he played to perfection. Yet, for all his talent, Irwin never became the household name he deserved to be. His memorable roles in Seinfeld and Home Alone proved his skill, but he remained in the background, a beloved character actor who never quite reached leading man status. That quiet injustice lingered over his career, a reminder of how Hollywood often overlooked older actors, no matter how skilled they were. While Irwin continued working steadily, the frustration of being passed over for major roles never fully faded. Unlike many of his peers who accepted Hollywood's bias without complaint, Irwin was refreshingly candid about the struggles of aging in the industry. Yet, rather than giving up, he adapted, finding new opportunities in voice acting and guest appearances, proving that resilience was just as important as talent in a business that worshipped youth. As the years passed, Irwin's battle with aging became a reality he couldn't ignore, but his determination never wavered. Even in the smallest roles, he brought an undeniable presence to the screen, proving that true talent withstands the test of time. Just before his passing, he attended events celebrating Somewhere in Time, showing that his love for the craft never faded. Billy Bird. Billy Bird may have only had a brief moment on screen in Home Alone, 1990, but her role as Irene, the quirky woman trying to sell her flight ticket to Kate McAllister, left a lasting impression. With her sharp wit and perfect comedic timing, she brought warmth and humor to an already beloved film, proving that even a small role could make a big impact. But Billy Bird's story didn't start or end there. Born in 1908 in Pocatello, Idaho, she grew up in an orphanage, a childhood that could have been filled with sadness. Yet, even at a young age, she found joy in making others laugh. By the time she was just 7, she was already performing in front of audiences, charming them with her natural comedic talent. She took to the vaudeville stage, learning the delicate craft of timing and delivery, setting the foundation for a career that would span nearly a century. Her journey to Hollywood wasn't a straight shot to stardom. She spent years taking smaller roles, working on stage, and slowly making a name for herself. She landed her first film role in The Odd Couple, 1950, speaking just a single line. It may have been brief, but it was only the beginning. Through the 1950s and 1960s, she made steady appearances on television, including roles in Ironside and 8 is Enough, proving herself as a versatile and reliable actress. Then came the 1980s, the decade that would finally bring her the recognition she had long deserved. She teamed up with the legendary John Hughes, appearing in 16 Candles, 1984, where she once again showcased her impeccable comedic instincts. Whether in films or on television, Bird had a way of lighting up the screen, winning over both audiences and colleagues with her charm and unmistakable energy. Yet behind her joyful characters was a woman facing a heartbreaking battle. Alzheimer's disease crept into her life, robbing her of the very wit and sharpness that had made her famous. The cruel irony of losing her memories, the very thing that had shaped her career, was a devastating reality. And in 2002, at the age of 94, the disease claimed her completely. Though Hollywood never truly gave older actresses the respect they deserved, Billie Bird defied the odds. She fought for every role, performed for U.S. troops during the Vietnam War, and refused to fade into the background. But as time wore on, her declining health made it impossible to keep up with the career she loved. The public never saw the struggles she endured behind the scenes, the quiet pain of a woman watching her own brilliance slip away. Her passing on November 27, 2002, was more than just the loss of a great actress. It was the end of an era. Though she left this world peacefully, the years leading up to it were filled with sorrow, as those closest to her watched helplessly as she faded away. She may have left the stage, but the laughter she brought lives on, ensuring that Billie Bird will never truly be forgotten. Clark Devereaux, best remembered for his role in Home Alone, 1990, as one of the bumbling wet bandits, grew up in the heart of Chicago, Illinois. Acting ran in his blood. His father, Doyle Devereaux, was a writer and performer, and Clark followed closely in his footsteps. His big break came when he landed a part in the beloved holiday classic, bringing laughs with his perfect comedic timing. While Home Alone was a milestone in Clark's career, it wasn't the only moment in the spotlight. He continued to appear in films and television, though he never quite reached the same level of stardom as some of his co-stars. Despite being part of a Hollywood blockbuster, Clark chose to stay out of the limelight, keeping his personal life private. One of the most unexpected things about Clark was his down-to-earth nature. Even after Home Alone became a global sensation, he opted for a quieter life, away from the industry's glare. But fame came with a heavy price. As a young actor, Clark struggled with Hollywood's relentless expectations, feeling boxed in by an industry that often valued image over individuality. He was never one to sugarcoat things, calling the system broken and the obsession with youth and beauty toxic. "They don't care if you fit in the box or not," he once said, "as long as they can sell you to the highest bidder." Devereaux's rise in the industry brought an internal battle, the dreaded child actor curse. The same film that made him recognizable also became a shadow he could never quite escape. Trapped by expectations and typecasting, he saw firsthand how Hollywood valued profit over people. Clark Devereaux's passing on November 20th, 2021, at the age of 90, marked the end of a long, grueling fight with cancer. Though he battled with everything he had, his health declined steadily, leaving him physically weakened in his final months. His family, heartbroken by the slow and painful goodbye, stood by his side as he took his last breath. Surrounded by those who loved him most, Clark's final moments were filled with care, but even the deepest love could not soften the sorrow of losing such a kind and humble soul. Marion Seldes, 1928 to 2014, was a remarkable talent whose career spanned over 6 decades, leaving an indelible mark in theater, television, and film. Perhaps most fondly remembered for her role as Mrs. Hess, the inquisitive neighbor in Home Alone 3, 1997, Seldes brought her signature comedic timing to a more light-hearted part, proving she could shine in any genre. Though this role was different from her usual dramatic roles, her ability to infuse it with subtle depth left a lasting impression on audiences. Seldes began her journey in acting at the neighborhood playhouse and made her Broadway debut in 1948 with Medea. Her brilliance was quickly recognized, and by 1975, she earned a Tony Award for her powerhouse performance in Edward Albee's A Delicate Balance. Renowned for her dedication, Seldes was famous for her professionalism, never missing a performance of Death Trap during its 5-year Broadway run. Her versatility extended beyond the stage, allowing her to transition into film and television, where she gained praise for both dramatic and comedic roles. Off-screen, she was a beloved mentor and teacher, known for her generosity and her eccentric yet endearing sense of humor. She was particularly impressed by Home Alone star Macaulay Culkin's ability to perform under pressure, though she openly criticized Hollywood's focus on fame over craft. Her blunt words about the industry's obsession with superficiality and wealth often ruffled feathers. She believed that true artistry took a back seat to the pursuit of fame and fortune. Unapologetically staying true to her values, Marion became a legend in her own right, even when it meant alienating parts of the Hollywood elite. Marion passed away on October 6, 2014, at the age of 86, after a lengthy battle with an undisclosed illness. For months, she fought in private, and her passing was met with heartfelt tributes from those who admired her work. However, a documentary released years later unearthed raw, painful truths about her final years, including her struggle with dementia. The film sparked controversy within the theater community, exposing her suffering in ways many felt were too intrusive. While Marion's legacy as a talented, strong woman remains intact, the portrayal of her final years cast a shadow on her journey. Beyond her achievements, Marion was a true survivor, someone who faced life's darkest challenges with dignity. Yet her last years were captured in a lens that many believed was too harsh. Eddie Bracken, born on February 7, 1915, in New York City, enjoyed a long and varied career that spanned theater, television, and film. He is perhaps best remembered by a new generation of fans for his portrayal of E.F. Duncan, the quirky hotel manager in Home Alone 2 Lost in New York, 1992. By then, Bracken had already built a reputation in Hollywood, but this role brought his talent to the attention of many who may have missed his earlier work. Bracken's journey began as a child actor, and soon he transitioned to Broadway, where his talent was quickly recognized. His breakthrough came in 1940 when he starred in Too Many Girls, which opened doors to a successful film career. In the 1940s, he worked alongside director Preston Sturges in a series of successful comedies, including The Miracle of Morgan's Creek, 1944, and Hail, the Conquering Hero, 1944. Bracken's re-emergence in the 1980s and 90s with films like National Lampoon's Vacation, 1983, and Home Alone 2 marked a return to the limelight, earning him the respect of co-stars for his laid-back and comedic style. However, Bracken's career wasn't without its struggles. Often typecast as the awkward nice guy, his range was overlooked, limiting his ability to land more serious roles. His personal life, including a divorce and financial difficulties, added to the obstacles he faced in the ever-changing film industry. Despite this, Bracken's career never reached the heights many believed it deserved, and Hollywood's treatment of him often went unspoken. Still, through it all, he never allowed bitterness to take root. Instead, he relied on his persistence to keep going. Later in life, Bracken found some measure of redemption with Home Alone 2, but it was a bittersweet reminder of how quickly Hollywood could forget its stars. Eddie Bracken passed away on November 14, 2002, at the age of 87 after complications from surgery. Though his passing wasn't met with a public outpouring of grief, the pain felt by his family, especially his children, was undoubtedly profound, though kept private. John Hurd. John Hurd, forever remembered as Peter McAllister, the well-meaning but distracted father in Home Alone, 1990, was born on March 7, 1946, in Washington, D.C. His love for acting was sparked by his mother's passion for community theater, while his father's work at the Pentagon gave him a disciplined upbringing. He briefly studied drama at the Catholic University of America, but left before finishing, unable to ignore the pull of the stage. Hurd's career took off in theater, where he quickly gained recognition, winning an Obie Award in 1979 for his performance in Othello. But it was his breakthrough role in Cutter's Way, 1981, where he played a troubled Vietnam War veteran that established him as a serious actor. His intensity in dramatic roles stood in stark contrast to the comedic father figure he would later become known for in Home Alone and its sequel. Despite his initial doubts about the film's success, Home Alone cemented Hurd's place in Hollywood history as part of one of the most beloved Christmas classics of all time. However, while the role brought him fame, his career was not without its struggles. John Hurd's life was not just defined by his role in Home Alone, it was also overshadowed by a long battle with addiction. Though he avoided the headline-making scandals that plagued many Hollywood stars, his struggles with substance abuse silently shaped his career. Behind the scenes, his reputation for being difficult to work with kept him from landing steady roles. One of the deepest wounds in his personal life was his strained relationship with his son, Max, from his marriage to actress Melissa Leo. The emotional weight of this fractured bond took a toll on Hurd, and no amount of professional success could fill the void. John Hurd's sudden death on July 21, 2017, sent shockwaves through Hollywood and beyond. Found in a hotel room in Palo Alto, California, he had suffered a fatal heart attack caused by heart disease. Just 2 days earlier, he had undergone minor back surgery, though doctors confirmed it had no link to his passing. His death served as a stark reminder that even those who appear to have it all can be struggling with battles unseen. There were no warnings, no prolonged decline, just an abrupt and heartbreaking loss that left his family, friends, and fans reeling. As we reflect on the lives and legacies of the actors who brought Home Alone to life, it's clear that Hollywood often conceals as much as it reveals. The journeys of these stars, filled with triumphs, challenges, and untimely passings, offer just a glimpse of the hidden realities behind the glittering fame. But what other secrets remain buried in the world of childhood classics and cherished actors? In the upcoming videos, we'll expose even more shocking revelations, from behind-the-scenes scandals to the private lives of the stars who shaped your childhood. What truly happened to some of Hollywood's biggest names? What hidden tragedies and secrets have stayed out of public view? Stay with us, because the stories we're about to tell will shake up everything you thought you knew about your favorite films and stars. You won't want to miss what's coming next.